control your calendar, sure, you can control a portion of it, but you can't control it all. So that's why it's so important for that morning routine, like you and I were discussing, is setting your day up for success. Yeah. That's you. That's all you. You think the only difference between me and anybody else is that I've been told no way more. You know how long that pool was on my vision board for?
I love it. Great way.
1992. Took me a while, but I got there.
Welcome back to another episode of the Professional Risk Takers. We're your hosts. I'm Lorenzo. This is Matt. And today we are filming from South Carolina at Toni Vanschoyck's beautiful estate home. She has kindly invited us down to visit with her, and we're actually filming a podcast, not only for ourselves, but for Toni. This is her first podcast that she's releasing. So it's an honor for us to be here. And just to give you a little bit of a background, Toni is a top income producer from Monet, or also known as Modern Nature. She's an author, she's a public speaker, and she's absolutely crushing it. And she is a female leader, entrepreneur. And so with that, we're so proud to be here, and we have something for you because before we get really going, this is something for you from Matt and I.
Thank you.
You are a true pro risk taker.
You are a true pro risk taker. So we got you some apparel.
So cool. Look at this, PRT.
Right?
I have to make a song after that. I love it. I love it. And I love hats. Oh, and a t-shirt. Good. I need a new workout t-shirt.
There you go.
There we go.
Right? So there you go.
I know your husband wears hats, so he can wear one of the hats.
Yeah,
too.
no, I'll give him one. Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is
You're
cool.
most welcome. Yeah,
Very cool.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, Toni has multiple layers to her. She's a public speaker, she's a businesswoman, she's an entrepreneur, a family woman, a mother, a wife. So we're gonna unravel all of that. You're very inspirational. We heard you speak back in April in Toronto, and we were drawn to you immediately.
Very much so.
We have a lot that we can learn from you. I think a lot of other people can as well. So let's dive deep and talk about it.
Let's get right into it. So Toni, how many years have you been with Monet?
I actually launched it back in August of 2014.
So when you say you launched it, like you are one of the original, like, what would we say?
I was the first.
The first.
The first.
Wow.
Yep.
Your market number is 01. That's funny.
Actually, you know, it's really fun. You want to hear something like like a God moment, I think it was, is that my market partner ID number is the same ID number that I had with my previous company.
Are you kidding
How
me?
crazy is that?
Wow.
So
Synchronicities.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So they're from inception, and then over the years, you've accomplished so much, and not just in like that space, but like in your life, like what we've known about you so far, just the things you've accomplished are just astounding. Especially when we talk about a lot of business and entrepreneurship, and really that lifestyle, like you're hitting it on all the major points. And just for us, just kind of take us from like day one and like bring us up to speed a little bit. Like, how was that starting this new venture?
So to give you guys just a little bit of background about, you know, me and my experience, I started working at a very young age. I started working in the restaurant industry when I was 15.
Right.
Pretty much stayed in that industry for a really long time because you can't beat the money. You know, pretty much, you know, paid my entire way through college. Okay. And then I quit, you know, like 2 classes shy of my master's because what I said, what the hell am I doing here? It doesn't serve who I am. Right.
Really?
Yep. So then I started having babies, and then I didn't want to be working that crazy 70-hour work week and, you know, not knowing when I'm going to get home, or, you know, having to do a closed to open shift to open up the restaurants and stuff like that. And it was a lot, even though I loved it. But my primary thing was to be a mom first. Right. So I decided to take all of my PTO. Okay. I took my maternity leave, took medical leave. I had about 6 months of payment, and I said, you know what? It's super simple for me just to start my own daycare because I could take care of my kids and they wouldn't have to be in daycare. Right. And I could serve those other parents that really wanted the hands-on approach. So that's what I did. And at the time, we had a lawn service. So I had 2 brick and mortars after I walked away from the restaurant job. Wow. Okay. But then what had happened, we were living outside of Detroit, Michigan, and when you have a lawn service and a daycare, those are considered luxury. Okay. So what happens when people start to lose their jobs? They're going to go back and do things themselves, right? So in our lawn service, half of our accounts were gone overnight when the big three shut down.
Wow.
Yeah, and they started laying off all those people and started giving out all those cheap-ass buyouts and everything. So I had to think quick on my feet because that was significant income.
For sure.
So I actually started in network marketing. Like Naomi was a baby. She was a baby, and I'm pointing over here because she's over here taking content. But throughout the course of this, and I kind of did it a little bit before she was born. So I've been in the industry over 25 years. Okay, and I loved it, but I thought that I was very ego driven at the time. I didn't understand what it was to be successful in network marketing, which I'll tell you right now, if you're not in a place of service in this industry, don't bother, because this is all about serving others and helping them win.
Correct.
And then that way it comes back to you tenfold, 100-fold, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But what I had found is that I really had a knack for this because I love helping people. And it was a simple vehicle, but it's the hardest business that I've ever done in my life. But man, is it so rewarding because I get to meet really cool people like you guys.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I like that mindset there about helping others and having to have that mindset, because it's true. Generosity will beget generosity. No question about that. And if the ego tries to supersede that, it's a short-term vision and it doesn't work. Right? So mindset to me is paramount, especially in the business that you're in, even the business that we're in. If we're just thinking about ourselves, our bottom line, it's very, very short-term vision.
Exactly. And so when I was looking at network marketing, when I first saw it, my first exposure to it was when I was 23 years old. Okay. Wow. I had a lady that actually approached me in the grocery store, a complete stranger, and I'll never forget this. And I didn't really understand, again, about the service aspect. I was like, okay, I can invest this couple $100. I can make some serious money. I had no idea that it was, I was making it all about me. And so for the first 10 years in network marketing, I did okay, but I wasn't successful. It was like, the business paid for itself. Until I finally started investing in me. And you guys, I'm going to tell you, the number one way to acquire wealth is to invest in yourself. Okay? Yep. Because when you do that way you acquire more skill sets, you can help more people.
Very true. Yeah.
So to this day, I still invest. Number one priority is investing in myself.
It's funny you say that. I've heard someone say, he's a public speaker, and he uses the example of money. And, if you're poor, you can't help the poor. You can't help the cause, right? And that goes along not only money, but whether it comes, family issues or something. When you have an abundance of something, whether it's knowledge or money or experience, you can now help those people going through a financial issue, going through a marital issue. And, yesterday we were off camera and we were talking about the ebbs and flows of life and the highs and the lows. And you are successful in my eyes and Lorenzo's eyes in multiple ways, whether it be monetary or other. And what is your take on success? It's because it goes beyond money. Success, in my opinion, is relationships, it's family, it's health, right? And you seem to be well-rounded in success. But a lot of people have the stigma when they hear success, they just think rich. And there's so much more to success than rich, right? So what's your take on that?
Money is just one component. Yeah. So I live my life by 5 pillars, right? Faith, family, fitness. Well, I call it family because friends become your family.
True.
Freedom. And, the one thing about finance, right? It's that part of the equation. True wealth, if you don't have your health, you don't have wealth, period.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay? So, you've got to look at that. You've got to look at your relationships. Okay? How are you growing through your relationships? Because I don't care how much money you make. If you're an asshole, you're still an asshole. Right. You can have money or not have money.
Become a super asshole. Yeah.
Right?
It makes you more of what you are, I think. Yeah.
100%.
If you're generous, you become more generous. Yeah.
Exactly. And I've always been like, anybody that has known me for a long period of time, they know that I would give them the shirt off my back. That's just how I've always been. I was raised in a wealthy family, right? And actually, my parents are not the epitome of, the entire concept of wealth. it was all about the money. It was all about the things. It was all about where are we going on vacation? You know, exactly. And that for me, it just, it's gross, right? So anything to build wealth is legacy. It's long term. So you'll hear a lot of people talk about, you know, these things that you see going on, especially right now in the digital era, right? Oh man, you can make so much money so quickly. Okay, you know what? That easy is always sleazy.
Right.
So I am always looking for long term. What does it look like? That's why I started investing in real estate.
Right.
You know, that's why, you know, we started our own personal bank for ourselves. And just teaching people basic wealth principles. It's freedom, right? Wealth, money comes and goes. Time does not.
Yes.
Correct. And I always say that money will come and go, and there's different stages in your life. There'll be a bit more, a bit less. That's not the major issue. Time, like you said, your health and your family. If you sacrifice those things, it doesn't matter how much money you have. At that point, it becomes useless because you're not putting it towards something that really matters. Another point that I want to touch on is legacy, because like you said, in this digital era, while it's very, very positive for information, we can get caught up in a trap where we'll make quick cash, the ones and dones.
Yeah, like she said, easy is sleazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that to be careful with, because even though it seems alluring, there's no legacy behind that. So when you talk about legacy, what is it for you that matters when it comes to legacy?
One, how many people can I help with the same platform? Okay. Two, is it simple? Okay. You know what? Simple. Again, not confusing. And can anybody take the advice that I'm going to give and apply it? Okay. And the other thing is creating long-term wealth. And this is generational wealth, not just for me and not some fucking retirement account. That's bullshit. Yeah. This is about creating something for my family, for my kids' kids.
Long-term,
right.
Exactly. But teaching them at the same time on how to create that.
And I think that's pivotal, because leaving a large estate or bank account is one thing. It can be burned through quickly. But if they have the tools to replicate and continue on what you've shown them, that's a legacy.
Teach a man to fish, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And while we're on this topic, it just reminded me of another conversation we were having just over in the pool house last night, talking about integrity and reputation. Because you can build long-term wealth and legacy, but you can wipe it out in a day with the wrong move. You know, when people start to lose faith in you, or you do someone bad, and you said you're big on integrity. Lorenzo is has the most integrity of anyone I've met, and I look up to him for that. So it's nice to be around people who appreciate it, because I think it's the number one quality that anyone, business or other, should have.
But you know what? It's the rarest quality.
Yeah.
So, you know, you throughout our our decade of doing this and gaining success, it didn't happen overnight. I mean, you know, we were 45 and broke when I found Monate. I mean, like, we're talking 4 months behind on our house payment, broke. Wow. Filed bankruptcy because I had lost my business, and my husband, who was a civil engineer, had his per diems cut overnight. We had a quarter of the income coming in living in Chicago at the time. Very expensive city to live in. And, you know, with, you know, a family of 5, it was really a struggle.
I can't even imagine, like, the stress at that stage.
Well, Jay and I almost split up over all of this. It was because financial pressure is just really
it's crushing.
Tough. Right. Yeah. And so he was the sole provider, you know, when I was in between businesses, and it got too much.
Wow.
And all I wanted to do when I found this, and I should have been the last person to say yes to another network marketing opportunity, because I had already been burned twice.
Financial pressure is huge, and I don't know the actual statistic, but it's definitely one of the leading causes in divorces.
Oh yeah,
for sure it is. For sure it is.
It breaks marriages, it breaks families, it causes tension, it increases stress, and you start lashing out, and you panic, right?
Yeah.
So it's not something easy to go through, but now you can, because you've been through that, you've seen both ends of the spectrum now, right? And it's
the only thing that I want to do now with educating people on true wealth principles and stuff like that is so they don't have to go through what I did.
That's massive. Yeah.
You guys, I'm telling you, throughout this journey, because we had people that took massive advantage of us. I mean, I think the last I calculated it, we've lost $2.3 million in people ripping us off or not being true to what they say, taking money, saying, oh yeah, we're going to do the job for you, and they never get it done. And I have no legal recourse, even though I have a great business attorney. She's awesome. But, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of people are shady.
Shysters.
Terrible.
Yep.
You guys saw it. I mean, you guys saw it.
We experienced it. Yeah. And something that I don't want to go back to when we met at the Super Saturday, just because of the experience that you have, real life experience. When you speak, that's what Matt and I really caught on to, the authenticity and the realness that comes from your voice. It's not a script. What you speak about is very, very true. So I think when people have experienced something like what you've experienced, I've been in a similar situation at one point too with other things. When you talk now, it's not from something you read or wrote. It's something that's right in here.
It's your story.
And that will come out. And that's what impacts people. And I think that's one of the biggest impacts that we can ever have is just speaking authentically and not some other BS that we regurgitate. And that's something another thing, a trap to get away from on the online world.
Oh, 100%. So, you know, when we first started to scale with this, I tried to be somebody that I wasn't. And I came across very disingenuous. And I just had an epiphany about 2 years into this that I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I am not who they want me to be. I'm not the typical type of person that they're looking for, right? But I am who I am. And that's what draws people to people like us, is being real, telling the truth, whether it's going to piss you off or not. We can't have direct conversations anymore without
being offended and being blocked and ghosted. It's got to be. It is not that it's got to be. It is absolutely liberating when you can be your true self. And did you see a change in your business when you made that decision? Like, fuck it, this is who I am.
Yep, I did. It blew up. We went from doing about $10 million a month in total team volume. We doubled it within like a year. And that, you know, and then we had hockey stick growth too. But you know what? The speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. Right. And I can't be unauthentic to people and say, hey, go out, sponsor, go out and get your clients, your VIPs, your team builders without me doing it myself. Because you know what? That's being a hypocrite.
Right.
I can't ask people to do what I'm not willing to do. Right.
You know, that's one thing that, you know, Matt and I talked about this too, like the businesses that we you know, own and work in. I'm not going to ask somebody to do something that I've never done. And I won't be in a business where I don't know it inside and out, because then I won't be able to grow that business. I don't understand it, obviously. That's a no-go.
And if you haven't done it, if there's ever a point where you have to do it, then you can just pull up your sleeves and do it, because you know how to do it. You've been there, you've done it, you can get your hands dirty, you can do the work. Even if you don't want to, even if you've grown the business to a point where you don't have to, sometimes it might come to a point where you, like I said, pull up your sleeves and you have to do the dirty work or the work you think other people should be doing because you're delegating it now. But always be prepared to. My dad always said that. Just know the business inside and out. And nobody can screw you either.
That's right. They can't take advantage.
Yeah.
No. I mean, you know what? Education, when you and also too self-mastery. One, self-love is another thing, right? The third thing is that you have to stand behind for what you believe in, regardless. And I mean, you know, we could go in many different directions, but I've always been very outspoken. I have always been, you know, not one to go along with the mainstream. Okay, I've always been the one that says no, this isn't right, and I stand up for it. Thank you. Yeah. Somebody posted this the other day, and it resonated with me, and it says, leaders want to lead until you got to take the first step.
Because it seems glamorous, right?
Yep. And you know what? Most people it's a herd mentality. It's what we've been conditioned to do, and I just won't do it. I cuss, I swear. You can take the girl out of Detroit, but you can't take Detroit out of the girl, right? But it's about, this is who I am. I'm not going to
true to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So I really, my message, you know, for this particular thing that we're discussing is that you have to be true to you, online, offline, and behind closed doors.
And then you don't have to act. You don't have to remember, how did I act with them last time, you know, or what did I say to them last? If you're just yourself, there's nothing to remember at that point. Right. You're just you. And that the same thing that goes with, giving advice. If you're telling your story, there's nothing to remember. You're not repeating, like you said, someone else's advice.
Right.
So you're right. Same thing goes with your actions and your integrity and how you treat people. You stay congruent with what you say and what you do and who you're with. You don't have to be a different person each time.
Right, exactly. And so, I thought about this and I wrote it down, is that anything that you do in life, you've got to be relationship rich. Okay? It is all based on relationships.
Yes.
Relationship capital is the most valuable capital there is out there.
Big time.
It is.
Relationships are everything.
It's the new currency, right? And if you're not building those relationships, it doesn't matter what you know. Really, it doesn't.
Nope.
I have a question. I want to talk about your family and time management with, business and work. Do you personally have time? Do you allocate? Do you kind of just go with it? Do you roll with the punches as they come? Because you're very family oriented, as I can see. You care about your daughters. You have a beautiful marriage, and you have a house to take care of. But sometimes you got to pump the brakes on one or the other to take care of business. How do you view time management and family? Quality time with family.
So this is my philosophy on time management. Screw it. There is no time management.
Okay. I love it. I want to hear it.
Because each day is different. Yeah. Each situation is different. Each conversation is different. Now, you can structure your day, using your calendar, which I highly encourage people to do. Like for me, I usually do not take calls or do coaching or do anything with my team before noon because mornings are my time. They're my time to work out. They're my time for devos. They're time for personal development and professional development. And also, I do things for my business in the morning, right? Not anybody else's.
Right.
So, and mornings are for us too. So the girls, we're always working out together at the gym or going grounding on the beach and that type of thing or going to yoga. But the one thing is that after that time in the afternoon, and I start my calls and I do a lot of calls in the evening too, just because that's the reality of our business. But as far as time management goes, there isn't such a thing. Okay. Can you control your calendar? Sure, you can control a portion of it, but you can't control it all. So that's why it's so important for that morning routine, like you and I were discussing, is setting your day up for success.
Yeah.
That's you. That's all you.
100%.
Yeah, and that's another thing too that Matt and I have talked about in other episodes. So you rule the day, or it's going to rule you.
Yes.
So the decision is always yours. The planning is always yours. It's the approach that's important.
And I can attest to that. Like before I got into these routines, a totally different experience throughout my day. You can literally win the day if you win the morning. I live it day in and day out. It's and that's not to say things don't go wrong. There are unforeseen circumstances. You get frustrated, but you can just handle them better. You handle them in a more calm demeanor, in a wiser mindset, because you have taken care of business in the morning for yourself. You have to be selfish to be selfless, I've said before, right? So and then if you take that time in the morning, if that's your time, like I have my time, you have yours, and you can't help other people if you're not well yourself. So I agree.
Public speaking. How long have you been doing that?
Probably pretty much since I started working in restaurants and waiting on tables. Right?
Okay.
So I've been speaking on stages for probably 15 years. 16 years. So I really got into it in the last company that I was in, really blossomed, and I found that it just brings me life. So, I've been on stages as few as spitballing with you guys, right? One-on-one. You're still publicly speaking, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
you
true.
publicly speak to your families, to your spouses, it's all about, you're there just, and for lack of a better word, you are selling yourself to some point, but also too, you're bringing tangibles and valuables to that audience. And all I want to see is that one light bulb go off, right? That means that if you've impacted one person, think about the domino effect on doing that one person every single day of the week, right? I want to just impact one person, but when you're on stage in front of, and I've been on stage in front of 25,000 people. It was cool. It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever experienced.
I can imagine.
But the great thing is that when you can deliver a teachable tangible, and people can take that tangible and they can go apply it to be better themselves, and then they can teach it to other people, that's what lights my fire.
Yeah, that's totally mission accomplished right there, right? And we talk about that too, like the platform that we have, if it ever can impact one person in the right way, that's it.
Yep.
That's what it's about. So 15 plus years and up to a crowd of 25,000 people. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And you have some other speaking engagements coming up because I know you travel a lot for work. You speak quite a bit.
Yep.
So how often are you speaking like in a public setting like that? Like to an audience of that nature.
Well, my goal is to do it at least once a month for the end of this year because I just really
Great
kind of
goal.
went out in public and started advertising it outside of network marketing in this industry, which I love and I know like the back of my hand. But you know what? Everything is networking, right? You can teach someone who's in a completely different space the same principles because sales is sales, right? So, it's a refined, platform, but really nothing in sales has really changed all that much with the exception of technology and social media, which has only helped to enhance it.
Right.
So, my goal is eventually to get, where I'm doing at least 2 or 3 different gigs a month.
Incredible. Tony, I know you're a big fan of Ed Milet and John Maxwell. We were talking about. You said you know John Maxwell personally, or
Yeah. He actually was a really cool story. We were doing this program with him that he created specially for about 30 of us, and I was in Atlanta at his training facility, and I got to tell him the story of how I reconnected with a daughter that I gave up for adoption. And so I was sitting at the table with some other business partners of mine, and John and Mark Cole and Aaron, his 2 folks that help him. And I got to tell him that story when I first got the message. And it was really cool and really impactful. Yeah. But he's just a cool guy. So every time we see each other, he's like, how's Jesse doing?
He remembers. That's so powerful.
That's a rare quality.
Yeah.
And he's 76 years old, right? He is sharp as a tack.
He really is. I listen to his minute with Maxwell every morning because I subscribe to that. And it's the 1 minute I look forward to in the morning the most because I play it and it's either him speaking about a word or a phrase and breaking it down or one of his key speakers. And I'm telling you, that's such an awesome way for me to incorporate in my morning routine. I love it. Yeah.
I was listening to him and John and Ed on Ed's podcast not too long ago. You may have heard it yourself.
I wasn't that fast.
It was awesome.
And I'm bringing that
awesome.
because we're talking about public speaking. I forget which one of them said it, but they brought up 2 points. And maybe you use these points in speaking, maybe you don't. But just like helping people, they used to get more nervous when they thought the speaking was about them. Like how are they going to view me? How am I going to perform? How am I going to do this? And when they make it about the audience, all that pressure goes away. Right. And they would also picture, just like you said, speaking to your mother and father is public speaking. Or speaking to your friends is public speaking. So Ed would go on stage and just look at a crowd of 25,000 people and say, they're all just my friends. Mm-hmm. Versus strangers, I have to impress. Like, how do I look? How do I sound? Yeah. When you start, your perspective changes that way. The speaking becomes, there's no pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Well, John does it the best. What is the first thing he says every time you see him speak on stage? Hi, I'm John, and I am your friend.
What a great way to open up. Yeah. Honestly.
Sets the tone.
It does totally set the tone.
Even his presence is very, very calm and wise.
Very.
Yeah. Very. And we get that with you too, big time.
Oh, thank you.
With a little bit of fire.
Lots of fire.
When you spoke in April, you had us all, the audience. We were in the audience. We did a little activity. It was like a 10-minute thing where we wrote some stuff down. Mm-hmm. And you touched on, which I'm huge on, and I know Lorenzo is too. This is a big part of my day, every single day, is visualization. Do you want to touch on that and how it's helped you? What people can do with visualization, maybe what it is, people who don't use it or don't know what it is. Because I know for me, it's made a huge change in my life, whether it be drawing or thinking or vision boards or just getting in a car that I want to manifest, for a lack of better words. What is visualization to you?
You know how long that pool was on my vision board for?
I love it. Great way.
1992.
Wow.
Took me a while, but I got there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So visualization is super, super important. And the task, when you write a future letter to yourself, this is all about you empowering yourself. There's no other greater power on the earth is hearing your own voice, writing down your own dreams, your own thoughts. Nothing else more powerful. Right. Okay? But the one thing is that we've been told no. We get 60,000, now it's probably more like 70, 75,000 negative messages a day now, right? Where if prior to all this bullshit happening, it was only 60,000 messages. So it's even created more self-doubt.
Right.
One, you have got to have an inherent self-belief practice. So when you're sitting there and you're thinking about all the things that you truly, truly want and you want to do, you have to put it out there into the universe.
You have to.
You have to ask.
And you know, I don't mean to interrupt, but when people hear that, they just think it's hokey, but it's not. You know, ask the universe. They just like they brush it off. It's like, yeah, whatever. They don't take it for what it is, but there's power to that.
It actually, when you ask it, it's 80% likely to conspire to happen. So when I rewrote my letter to myself, I said, I got 2 speaking offers, okay? And I said, I want to be on 10 more stages before the end of this year. Do you know what happened the next day? I got asked to go to Portugal to speak.
Crazy.
I know, right? Right?
It works.
It does.
Totally works. And especially when you're writing everything down. Like I have this, you know, this new, you know, for the wealth coaching that we're doing, which I've envisioned myself for 2 years doing it. And I'm just like, okay, I didn't get serious about it. I didn't write it down. I was always up here. And once I took pen to paper, that was the game. That's the game changer.
100% writing. I know.
So, you know, again, and you have to, I want you to go back and visualize, dream, just like you did when you were a little kid. Yep. You remember those dreams? You guys, I had, for years, I wanted to be a truck driver. One of those big 18-wheelers. Years and years and years. Because I liked the, you know, the ability to travel. You were on the road. You'd get to go to different places and get paid for it, right? Well, God had other plans for me, which is even better, you know, because I can never imagine myself doing anything else. Yeah, right. Never. I mean, like this is like, you know, I'm going to be doing this shit until I die. This is really cool.
Yeah, and I always say, and only now can you look back and connect the dots and see, you know, oh, this is why this happened or didn't happen for me. You know, back then, whether you want to be a professional sports player, a professional dancer, you want to own a restaurant, then your dream gets crushed and you're all sad about it, but then something greater is even born. And only then can you look back, right? On the visualization, though, I believe that the power of belief plays a big part in it, though.
It does.
You have to believe, because I think doubt, it just cancels it out. You ask for it, and then it cancels it out. You know, belief and faith is the opposite of doubt and fear, right?
You're not operating on the right frequency at that point, and negativity is an absolute destroyer. It does. It just negates anything that you're working towards.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes people, you know, they're shouting affirmations in the mirror, but like deep down, in their core, they don't believe.
They don't believe it.
And that makes all the difference. Right?
And I'll add to that too. What we're just talking about now, they maybe don't believe it, and they haven't even written it out, because it has to all happen.
Yep.
It's all part of it.
Well, but that's the other thing too about, you know, keeping a journal. I keep a journal. Sometimes I don't have something to write with, so I have my notes section on my phone.
Same.
But there is a psychological, an emotional, and also an energetic experience that the universe conspires this to happen when you take pen to paper.
Yep.
And you put it out there. And I've seen it happen time and time again. So when I do the intense vision board workshops, people are required. I'm like, you're writing a future damn letter to yourself. How important do you think this is?
I could feel the passion in when you spoke about it. It got me going. I'm like, because this is something I already do, and I'm you're getting me going again. I want to do it again. It's great. It's great to hear it's clearly worked for you. It's clearly worked for you, and you can hear that in the voice and in the passion when you're explaining it. It's great. It's just nice to see real life examples of things that you believe in yourself. It's refreshing.
I want to touch on something quickly here. One word that's come up since we've been visiting with you, and even prior to that, like freedom. So what is? I know there's a lot of different ways we go with this, but what does freedom mean to you?
There's a couple of different.
There's a couple of ways we can go here.
Right. I'm gonna touch on our rights though, because I have to. Because if you look at what has been done across the board in all governments, is that we pay taxes, we're slaves. Bottom line, okay? And it's crushing for people. It's literally crushing that they're giving away 40% of the money that they make. That's one thing that I have been pursuing actively to teach other people how to reduce their taxes, right? Every country has pretty much the same thing, okay? So that's one thing that I do want to address, and this is one of the other reasons why we're doing the wealth coaching platform, is because I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've paid a lot of money to the government that I shouldn't have.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is time freedom. So money rolls up into time freedom. So what does that mean? That means that I can be anywhere and do anything, and I can make money from this. So when we were in Bora Bora, what was I doing? When I was over in Europe with the masterminds, what was I doing? This right here is a gold mine if you use it right.
Correct.
The other thing is that I am a firm believer. I don't care what your thoughts are. I don't care what your background is. We all have the right to freedom of speech. And we all have the right to say our opinion or to say something without, one, getting fucking fact checked. Two, is that we can agree to disagree, but we can still be friends.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that that's the lost art, is the art of debate.
But you know what? Everyone's become so, I don't just say it, like so overly sensitive. And to your point on that, if we disagree on something, it doesn't mean we're enemies anymore.
No.
Like, it does, or that we're not friends anymore, we're enemies. That's not the case at all. We just didn't agree on something. Fine.
So be it.
But now it's so blown out of proportion.
We're not even entitled to our own friggin' opinion anymore.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. That's a natural part of humanity and life.
We're individuals.
Differences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love a good discussion. And I'm not saying arguing all the time, but I love a good argument, right?
It's healthy.
Yes.
It's healthy.
And it makes these wheels turn in here.
Yep.
It keeps you young.
Sharp.
Yep. And it keeps those neurotransmitters firing away.
It does. It's okay. So this is a good segue because when it comes to dealing with other people and meeting new people and having disagreements or sales, yesterday, once again, I mean, we talked about a lot off camera. You brought something up to us it was an illustration that I loved. The green, blue, red, and yellow personalities.
Yeah.
And how to connect with other people. And, you said you can usually figure out the personality type pretty quickly, and I believe it because, you're very well spoken. I'm sure you've been around quite a lot of people. But what do these colors mean? And how can people use them to their advantage when not even trying to sell, just to connect with others, And it doesn't have to be monetary, right? If you're looking for friends or relationships or other,
Yeah. So the first thing is you have to be a great listener. You have to listen to what people are telling you because you can figure out their personality type in like 3 sentences. Okay. Yeah. So the book on the 4 color personalities was written like 30 years ago. Big guy in Amway, actually.
Okay.
But it serves anybody in sales. Okay. So a red personality, and you think of the color red, you think passion, fire, right? They're dominant and they're all about the money. Right. Okay. So very outgoing, very and rigid personalities, but they love the thrill of making the buck. Okay. Then you have your blue personalities. Blue personalities are most people in network marketing. If your red personalities are going to be more like realtors, if you're in car sales, that type of thing, because it's a higher ticket item, the more exposures you have to be a superb closer, right? Okay. Blue personalities are the ones, they just love being around people and they love to have a party or go to a party, right? Those are your people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Social.
So I'm a little bit of red and blue. So I'm kind of like Blurple. Then you have your yellow personalities. They're all about giving back and gratitude. Okay. So it's really, you'll have a lot of people in the yellow category and they will volunteer all the time. They will, they'll be the ones that will bail you out of jail regardless. Okay. Yeah. Your red personalities are going to be the ones that are in jail with you.
Yeah.
Your green personalities, those are your accountants, your CPAs, your engineers. Very super attention to detail.
They need to know all the facts.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't leave out any of the details. I want to see. I want to see the MDS or the MSDS sheets. I want to see the clinical trials. I want to see this. I want to see that. Mm-hmm. So that's their love language. But it's very and also too by what they do if they have a 9 to 5 or a job, that'll usually tell you where what space they're in on that color on those 4 color personality charts. Yeah. But so you can really use that to figure out how to talk to somebody.
To connect.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I always, and again, ask them qualifying questions because I am a lover of people and I want to get to know someone, right? So I have a thing that you do, and it's just like second nature to me. When I meet somebody new, no matter what, I'm asking them about their family. I'm asking them about their occupation. What do they do for recreation, and what matters most, or motivation? I got a new best friend in 5 minutes, right? I know everything about them when you.
Great question.
Yeah, those are all the right ones.
Exactly. So, like, especially like if I'm drawn to somebody, if I'm in the airport or I'm at a restaurant or something like that, and I am really drawn to someone, I'll walk up to him and I'll say, you're going to think that this is really weird, but energetically, I can read your energy, and you are somebody that I would really love to get to know. Can we connect on social media?
I love it.
And so they will. And then I will send them a greeting. Hey, so great to meet. Thanks. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable or anything
Come
like
on,
that.
too strong or something.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I said, but I read people's energy, and you just were somebody that I wanted to know. So I start the dialogue, with a lot of strangers like that, but then I'll go into that acronym of form, and I'll start asking them those qualifying key questions.
But you know the compounding effect of that too? Just like putting yourself out there and planting seeds. Sometimes things don't happen at all. Sometimes they don't happen right away, and sometimes they do. But that working is a currency. And if you can put yourself out there, and not only do you meet that person, but you meet their network as well, and they meet yours. And now if you go out there and you meet a contractor, and then all of a sudden you need an electrician, now you know another contractor and electrician, and vice versa. So the doors just open. And who knows where the snowball goes, like with these people. And
So true.
A lot of people are scared to put themselves out there like that for who knows what kind of reasons, all sorts.
You know what?
But the world needs more people like that.
But you know what? They're so afraid of rejection.
That's it.
it
That's
is.
the reason. It's rejection.
It is.
Yeah.
They've been burned and they don't want to face it again.
Exactly. So speaking of Ed Milet, who is my favorite podcaster of all time, I think he's the best interviewer out there.
He is.
But I can't believe that I have never heard of Jamie Kern Lima. And she, okay.
What an episode.
What? Holy cow.
Amazing.
But
Good
she
story.
talks about making rejection your friend. Yeah. It is a family member that you love. But she talks about, the strategic way of handling rejection, which I'd never heard of. I never thought of it that way. And I'm like, this is brilliant. Right. I mean, just brilliant what she shared. And I mean, all of the times that she got rejected by QVC, all of the no's that she got from investors and stuff like that, because she didn't look the part. And
she's the one that sold the company for like $1 billion.
Yes.
Yeah.
It Cosmetics to L'Oreal.
I listened to so many episodes. I'm like, why can't I remember this?
Yes.
I remember. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, crazy story.
Against
so
all odds.
I heard her and I said, okay, I'm going to download her Audible or her, on Audible, her book that's called Below It. I think that's what it's called. I just started listening to it like yesterday. I'm almost all the way through the book. It's so good. But she was, talking about that kind of stuff. But just to hear the passion in her voice, she's so authentic.
Yes.
And there's so much of that missing. We're going back to that, authentic again.
Yep.
Right? Stop. I'm telling you right now, stop trying to be like somebody else and just be you. Mm-hmm. And live loud and proud.
Yes.
Again, what people don't do because of fear. You know what I like about her story too is hearing how she views rejection. If you change your mindset to something, your world changes. Like who wants to be rejected? But if you can actually now change the way you process that and view that, it can be a game changer for you.
So you know what she said in there, which I said this to I call them my ride or dies. They're like our core, leadership team. Some of them have been with, we've been in, on this journey of life together for 20 plus years. But what she said yesterday, and I told my group this: rejection is God's protection.
And I heard Alex Hormozy once say, success highly depends on your ability to get rejected. Yeah.
Oh.
Right? It's if you can't handle rejection, like all the no's bring you closer to your yes. And it's more of a business saying, but relationships too.
You think the only difference between me and anybody else is that I've been told no way more. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at,
You build thicker skin.
Exactly. You look at the pattern of the relationships that I've had to let go. And they rejected me, right? But you have to let them go, because even close family ties, okay, just because they're blood doesn't mean that you have to allow them to treat you like shit. Okay? So, again, them rejecting you, whether it's emotionally, physically, whatever the case is, psychologically, is that rejection is for your own good.
And I like that too, that it's God's protection, because you don't know when that rejection happens, what's on the other side.
You don't know what he's heard.
Exactly. Before we wrap up, so a question. Did we ask about why South Carolina? Did we ask that already?
No, just quickly. But we want you to wrap this up. Why South Carolina? What are your future plans and goals? And advice to people, and just how everyone can reach you? Why'd you end up here? And what are the goals and the vision for the next 10 years in the life of Toni?
So I was born and raised in the north, okay, northwest Indiana, about an hour and a half east of Chicago. Lived up in the cold, crappy weather.
Where we are.
Yeah.
All my life.
Right.
Well, some of y'all like snow. I don't like snow.
None of us, no.
For 45 years, okay, I lived up there in the. Well, anyways, summer's construction season, right?
Yes, exactly.
So one day we were talking, and we said, and this was the first time that we could afford a family vacation without help from not my parents, not Jay's parents, not anybody. So he's like, he goes, we always used to stop in Charleston on my way to Hilton Head. Why don't so we looked online, we rented an Airbnb, beautiful home. And we got down here. Do you remember that? 24 hours. And I looked at Jay and I said, you're going home to pack our shit because we're moving down here. I had found a realtor.
Wow.
We found a rental. The kids had to be in school in like 6 days.
Incredible.
So he went home.
Crazy.
Him and Naomi, Catherine was too little at the time, packed up all of the stuff that was left over. Now, mind you, and Jay has a different story, so ask him about the moving story. Okay. I had already started purging. Went threw a bunch of shit out, hired one of those, what do you call those, trash bins. I was dumping shit left and right.
Oh,
Unbeknownst to me that I'm like, oh man, if we could just find a place while we're down there. The business was it took off. This was like year 2. And we came down here, basically threw a dart at the map and said, yeah, let's go here.
Never looked back.
And never looked back. Never looked back. I went back home to drive one of our cars down. So he drove one car and I drove the other one.
wow.
And we moved.
That's another trait of successful people. Those quick decisions.
Yes.
Right?
When you know, you move on it.
Yep, 100%. So we rented for about 17 months. And Jay had looked at 100 different houses.
Wow.
Because I wanted, one, it had to have the right energy. 2, it had to have non-negotiables. Because when we were living in Chicago, you can't afford a yard there.
Yeah.
The taxes are ridiculous. And I wanted to have some land, okay? And I wanted to have a space where I could build my pool. Because I was on the swim team in high school. I love being in the water. It's like therapy for me, kind of like yoga. Yeah. But so it had a smaller pool. We ripped it out and redid it all. But I made my coffin home. They're gonna scatter my ashes off the back of that damn dock back there.
Happily ever after in Charleston, right? Okay,
So, how can people reach you?
Oh yeah. So the best way to get a hold of me is Instagram. You can find me at Toni. Toni Vans, Vans, official on Instagram. Hit me up on a DM. That's the best place to reach out to me. You can always go to my website. That's effingsimple.com, EFFING simple.com. And yeah, so let's connect, and I'll share all of my events with you, all of our courses that we have, and our upcoming virtual trainings.
Fantastic.
any final words for anyone thinking about taking the entrepreneurial risk or, leaving their 9 to 5, making a move across the country?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much to you guys. This was
Thank you.
This was freaking awesome, and you guys are awesome.
This has been a pleasure, honestly.
Yeah.
She's. I don't know if we said it, but she's invited us into her home. She's letting us stay here. She's
Most gracious.
taking us
host.
to her gym. She cooked us dinner. Yeah, very, very, very hospitable. It's, we didn't.
question.
Yeah,
Don't, wait. Just say that after you have my famous lasagna tomorrow.
All right.
So back to your original question. You know what? If you're being told to do it, do it. Do it. Don't let, the message come to you and then you brush it aside. And then the message comes to you again stronger. And then you brush it aside. This is the way of God and the universe telling you, you need to do this. Okay? So regardless, maybe, you know what? It's a financial issue. It's a time issue. It's something. There's something there. Just take the first step and decide to do it, to create and live your life by design.
And drop the mic.
Yeah,
That was,
we're not going to add anything to
that
that.
was amazing. Tony, you're incredible. Your family's incredible.
Thank you so much.
Your house is incredible, and you guys, we have another special episode coming up in the same location with her lovely daughter Kat. So stay tuned. This has been great. We still have another day and a half here with her, and we are going to go explore some more of Charleston.
Thank you so much,
you,
Tony.
guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Take care,
Love
guys.
ya.